Heartthrob never. Heartthrob forever.
Yo, I want to start this post off by saying to FBAs / American blacks, remember to always be respectful in our dialogue towards other ethnic groups in regards to our delineation. And remember that we don't just come in capping on people or roasting other members from other ethnic groups simply for the sake of doing that. We only get vitriolic when, they've been disrespectful to us. If they haven't disrespected us, you don't have to be vitriolic or disrespectful to them automatically. But if they get disrespectful, then the roasting gates are open and you can heat that charcoal up. But we got to remember, we're not a people to start things. We only show a vicious or tenacious defense when we're provoked. So I want to start that off by saying that. But I want to address this whole thing of the Latino community, coming up with this whole FLA thing, the Foundational Latino Americans. And I just want to say that that's another disrespectful, move towards American blacks or FBAs, because once again, we have this thing of, when we try to establish our cultural and ethnic identity, we have people who don't like it, and then we'll just try to spin off and roll off of what we've created on our own and for our own. And then when we say that we created these things, people will want to say, well, no, you didn't create those things. And then you have situations where you have people like Tariq Nasheed having to make movies and stuff like Microphone Check to set the record straight. So first off, it's just highly disrespectful for someone else to say, okay, well, they're calling themselves FBA. We're going to call ourselves FLA. Now, why would you want to do that when you already have your ethnic heritage intact? You have a home country that you can go to intact. You have your history and everything intact. No one's saying that you don't know who you are. And then you're so concerned with, trying to have a juxtaposition towards American blacks or FBAs because they're calling themselves FBA, Foundational Black Americans. So it's like every time American blacks or FBAs, try to establish themselves with their unique cultural and ethnic identity, you have other people who want to jump in and undermine what it is that they're trying to do. And what FBAs or American blacks are trying to do is hold on to their ethnic identity and establish their ethnic identity. They're establishing their ethnic identity with facts, documented history, anthropological artifacts, all sorts of things that cannot be denied. These things that American blacks are presenting as proof and a foundational basis for why they're saying why they're saying that they are who they are and why they're delineating. These things cannot be disproven. These are facts. This is the only ethnic group, basically in the Western Hemisphere that does not have their own land, their own country, and who are named after two continents that are thousands of miles apart from each other, Africa and America. You can't make this up. So just like we had the situation with the hip hop issue, who started hip hop, we had the Latino community, upset that they weren't giving or that they weren't given accolades and credit for creating hip hop. While American blacks never said that the Latino community, didn't make some serious contribution, And let me say this. Let me give you some of the people that I feel made heavy contribution that are Latino. They didn't create it, but they made contribution that contributed heavily to the art form. And this is what we got to understand. Like, it's okay that you didn't create it. This is a fact that you didn't create it. American blacks or FBAs created it. But you came in afterwards and added to it. And here's some people that I definitely respect for their artistic, their musical and artistic and writing ability that they contributed. One being Mark Morales of the Fat Boys. He's passed on now. But Mark Morales, incredible producer, writer, and then he was a part of the legendary group, the Fat Boys. But for those of you who don't know, Mark Morales was a major component in, the song Real Love for Mary J. Blige. This is a Puerto Rican dude, Latino, Mark Morales. Okay? Then we have the impeccable man. He would just like to say that he was just, doing his thing. He knows that he was tight on the beats and the production, but I don't think he'd get enough credit. But then you have the Derek D. Angeletti, another Latino. And that brother's catalog needs no introduction and there's not enough amount of hyping you can do for this dude. Derek D. Angeletti. Mark Morales, Derek D. Angeletti, they're going down as legends in the game. But I just wanted to mention them two. And we could go on and on with other, serious Latino contributions to the art form. Contributions that we respect from individuals we respected and we respect. And that, we wouldn't let anybody, try to take away from their contributions to the art form. But they didn't create the art form. You know what I'm saying? And that's fine. But when they came in, the contribution was heavy. You know what I'm saying? So, but my point of saying all that is we don't have a problem with the Latino community. Not like that. We don't have no problem with anything that they've done or anything that they've contributed. And we give the credit where the credit is due. Our only problem is when FBAs or American blacks say, okay, we're a distinct ethnic group and we need to be recognized as a distinct ethnic group because we went through a specific thing in these United States and in these Americas. That's not diminishing or minimizing anybody else's plight or situation that they went through. But you have to be about preserving and honoring your home first, being your ethnic group, and then when all of those external problems have gotten to a point where we're not still being marginalized and harmed by multiple other ethnic groups, then we could start to, join more on some kumbaya stuff. But people don't have a right to be mad at American blacks or FBAs for wanting to establish this. This is crazy. And it's disrespectful when you have another ethnic group just try to come and ride off of what you've created, in this instance being FBA, then they want to come with FLA. You see? And this isn't the first time that it's happened. When FBAs or American blacks talked about Jim Crow, you had the Latino community come with something called Juan Crow. Juan Crow? This is another, diminishing, condescending, marginalizing effort against an ethnic group who went through something like Jim Crow, and then you come with something called Juan Crow. And so all I'm saying is, just like with the hip hop, where we created that, and then they'll come and say, no, we did that, and we did that, blah, blah, blah. And then we move on to the establishing of an ethnic identity, one in which we didn't have, and we're taking control of how we are viewed. We're taking control of our image, and we're gatewaying and gatekeeping, the words that are used about us. And then they want to come and roll off of that too. See, it's the same thing. Like you keep just copying what the other one has done, and you're not establishing your own thing, but your own thing is already established. So I hope y'all getting kind of the point that I'm making here. If I'm not mistaken, during the 50s and 60s, we had the Black Panther movement. And then the Latinos came afterwards, and then they started there. Man, I could have sworn it was something called like the Golden Jaguars, but when I did the research, I couldn't find that information. But I could have sworn that they came up with something similar. And so the Panthers did their thing, but then you had the quote unquote brown community, set up the Brown Berets or something like that. But I could have sworn that they had, adopted some big cat, as their, image for their movement as well. But I'm saying, it just seems like everybody wants to take what American blacks do and then just create a version of their own thing. You see? It's kind of like on this thing here, like with the LGBT community. Like I remember years ago, I'll even say a couple decades ago, like I remember being at work one time with this dude. He was a member of the LGBT community, and we was all in the meeting room having a discussion about something, but somehow we get on the whole thing about LGBT rights and all this and that, and it was about them having the right to be married, and he said, well, how would you feel like, no, what did he say? He's like, what we're going through is like, just like what blacks went through with civil rights. This is a civil rights issue, and it's the same thing. And I said, nah, man, like that's not the same thing. I said, like, you historically haven't been lynched and hung and burned and enslaved by the government for being LGBTQ or whatever. I said, no, it's not the same thing. Like this is a sexual preference as opposed to an actual human liberty and right. You see what I'm saying? So, but they want to attach their ideology and their movement philosophies onto FBAs or American blacks, because American blacks are the ones that fought for specific civil rights in this country. And then you have everybody, sexual preference groups, other ethnicities coming and latching on to the rights granted by the government of the United States, specifically for American blacks and FBA. And that's disrespectful. And the reason it's disrespectful is because all of those groups that I just mentioned, American blacks and FBAs can never and will never get those rights that are granted to those specific groups for them. we will be told immediately, as we are always told, that these privileges or benefits are for these types of people. Let an American Black or FBA try to go and get one of those benefits where they're building houses for, Latinos that are Latino only. They get those houses built. You're going to get laughed out of there. Let FBAs or American Blacks go to a job fair, which they have done in Chicago and New York and Philly and all these other places all over the country. A few months ago, where they went and they wanted to participate in these job fairs for these jobs, and they were told that they were for the Latino community only. So there's a highly disrespectful behavior and action when you have a people taking their ethnic identity, ethnic delineation establishment to another level. See, this is beyond the civil rights thing, because we got lulled to sleep after the civil rights movement. And, we're basically thinking that, okay, we got it done. We'll have to do nothing else. But we didn't know that we were basically hemorrhaging from the inside from phenotypically Black people who were from other ethnic groups that were undermining our progress in this country. And so it took us all the way from the 1960s to 2025, basically, to figure it out. Although we've had the brilliant minds of, Dr. Claude Anderson, who had already figured it out and had been telling us for years that we had to be more specific about who we are and how we were to, go about identifying and describing ourselves. He had already been on that, as well as, a few other brilliant elder minds, elder scholars. But collectively, as a whole people, where it takes a certain number of people to actually make it effective, we can say that this didn't kick off till basically 2023 through 2025. And now that we figured that out, we have people at every turn. They say they're not upset about it, but the way it appears to us is that people at every turn are upset about us making that delineation. And then we'll come with, okay, well, if you can call yourself a foundational Black American, we're going to call ourselves foundational Latino Americans. Okay. And the thing about it, and, if they go for it, if you're foundational Latino, if that's what you want to do, remember, you copied the idea. You didn't do your own thing. And then two, we never said that Latinos didn't experience some horrifying things at the hands of the Europeans. We never said that. We're just talking about what we're supposed to get as, for the heinous things that were done to our ethnic group. But if you do get, ground running with your FLA, remember where you got the idea from. You see what I'm saying? Otherwise, create your own stuff. Like you can't make this up. Once again, with our phenotypically Black brothers and sisters from other ethnic groups, we weren't the ones who made the delineation initially. We didn't know that we weren't viewed as part of the larger phenotypically Black family. Only in phenotype is what they were saying to us. But y'all ain't us. And when we say, okay, all right, we ain't Jamaican. Y'all, Jamaicans say we ain't them. Haitians say we ain't them. Afro-Cubans say we ain't them. Afro-Brazilians say we ain't them. The phenotypically Black groups, ethnic groups from Africa say we're not them. And then when we say, okay, we're not y'all, we'll make our own thing and self-identify. Well, no, you can't do that because you came from here. Well, you can't have it both ways, man. You can't tell us that we're not from you. or that we came from there, but somehow we're different. And then we say, okay, we don't have a problem with being different. We'll just, well, no, you got to be up under what we say you are. No, that's not gonna work, and that's over with. Like, who gave any of you who think like this? Who gave any of y'all the crown and the authority to try to denigrate and cast us low, or low cast us according to what you are saying about us? You see? While at the same time mixing in amongst our people, deceiving us to make us think that you're us, knowing that you have a disdain and a hatred for us the whole time. You know? And then when we are trying to make effort to preserve our culture and our ethnic identity, people who are upset about that want to just, to try to neutralize it, create the same type of acronym titles for themselves. Okay, well, this is where we are then. And if y'all get reparations, then we should get reparations. But that's really not really what's being said in regards to that. When it comes down to the reparations thing, it's more of y'all shouldn't get nothing. And y'all shouldn't get nothing, but we should get something. You see, like, we got to start having a real honest conversation about this. Like, people need to stop with the lying and just admit that, you know, for the most part, it definitely appears that all of these other ethnic groups, whether they phenotypically black or whatever, they are definitely Confederate and have a hatred towards American blacks in anything that we do. We're not, like, this isn't being made up. So much so that Trump had to come out and finally say, a president literally had to come out and finally say that the 14th Amendment? Yeah, I think that the 14th Amendment was created and established specifically for the descendants of slaves. Not for everybody coming across a border connected to North America, not from people coming over waters from other countries, coming over the waters to North America. Not from anybody coming from any other place, but it was specifically for American blacks. Like we're not making this stuff up. The reparations isn't being demanded for what many of you would say is a handout. That's not why it's being demanded. It's being demanded for forced, uncompensated labor for centuries. It's being demanded for slavery for centuries. It's being demanded for the heinous crimes that were committed against an ethnic group that went unchecked and unpunished by the global governments for centuries. It's being demanded due to the fact that the American government made laws and policies to enslave, disenfranchise, and murder an ethnic group for centuries. It's being demanded when, after slavery ended, the government continued by continuing its oppression of an ethnic group by putting in place policies and laws and legislation that affected the group even after slavery. Jim Crow, segregation, redlining, the destruction of towns, flooding them, burning them, bombing them, lynchings, murders. These things were being done unchecked all the way up until today, if you want to be honest. Rasheem Carter, anyone. I'm not going to let that go. Where you have a black man that is running for his life, basically through the woods of Alabama, or, wherever he was running at. Don't get me started, man. You see, when we have it to the point where across this country, where everyone knows that if you commit a crime against another ethnic group, and people talking about they don't know who did it and all this and that. See, to me, that state and that area where the crime took place at should be held in a sanctioned type of a situation until the murderers are handed over. And what I mean is that those areas of that state, wherever the crime took place of a hate crime by murdering someone like that, you no longer get funding from the federal government, and all financial resources that will come to those areas will be locked up until those people are handed over. So you hand them over immediately, and then you don't have a problem. That's how I see it. So you understand that when American blacks were fighting for these rights, those civil rights, here come everybody else and want to pick it apart and make sure that everything that our ancestors fought for during civil rights and all of this and that they were able to latch on to it too and get the same thing. While, let me remind you, American blacks don't have a hate crime bill crafted specifically for them, but Asians do. You see? So I just want to say again that it's disrespectful for a member of any ethnic group to want to come and create, a spin-off acronym to try to identify themselves and their heritage when they already have their heritage and everything intact. It's just disrespectful, man. Disrespectful, y'all. So, yeah, I'm letting the Latino community know that whole FLA thing, you really don't need to be doing that. You could do it if you wish, but you don't need to do it because you already have your ethnic culture intact. You already have your native homelands that you can return to intact. So just wanted to put that out there that these things are disrespectful to FBA or American blacks. It's not the same thing. And we don't have a problem getting on panels and having this debate civilly, with respect, the whole deal. And, y'all are hearing me say on my postings that, speaking of my people, we're not to be coming at people disrespectfully out the gate, unless they do it to us. If they do it to us, then it's fair game. Don't get mad when the roast happen. So if you don't like being talked to crazy or being, having some real verbal heat coming at you, then don't come with the disrespect. Keep it civil. Keep it like we civilized intellectual people on here and that we actually trying to make some ground, as different ethnic groups trying to have an understanding. Otherwise, if you start it, then we're going to engage in it and we're not going to let up. In any event, the FLA Juan Crow is highly disrespectful to FBA American blacks. Point blank. I'm out. Heart throb never. Heart throb forever.